We all remember like the time where Marvel was new and Marvel was exciting, and
Oh, yeah.
when they did like the first like it's so far in the past. It feels like it's not even that far ago, but when the first Avengers came out, that was such a freaking cool moment where Thor, Captain America, it was such a cool thing to pull that off, and to not only pull that off, but to go further, make more Avengers movies, most of them being really, really good, and then just cap it off.
The thing
with
about the
Endgame.
first Avengers is that it was the culmination of the work they did in the previous movies, right? So they had they took the time, the effort, they had the patience to build up these characters. Unlike with DC, where they really just wanted to do the Justice League fucking immediately.
Oh my gosh,
that was
that out.
Huge mistake. Let's talk about the films, though. So yeah, the first film, Iron Man, that was like such a gamble on their part. Honestly, a lot of people probably had no business succeeding. For a lot of people, I'm sure, before it came out.
I mean, you look at the people behind that. Again, we take everything for granted nowadays. And again, we do trash on Marvel, and we will trash on Marvel. But like what they did back then was astounding, and is still astounding to this day. They made that many movies, connected, all of them incredibly successful, incredibly expensive. But like, who was directing like the Iron Man movie? Jon Favreau. He was like known for making comedies, for making Elf. He wasn't really necessarily known for like those big blockbuster action movies. And then Robert Downey Jr. was just getting off of being in jail, and he was getting his little renaissance. He had a few movies that he had, but he was also about to do Tropic Thunder. So imagine if Tropic Thunder came out before Iron Man, he would just be known as the white guy who did the blackface. And so all that stuff, but like, so a lot of that was a risk.
This is potentially very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it's true.
But no, like the first Iron Man film, while I don't think it, like, I still really like that film.
Yeah.
And I'll go more detail about when we start actually like ranking them / putting a tier list together. But I think I could still enjoy that movie if I were to sit down and watch it again.
That movie only works with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, for sure.
Marvel's a lot of Marvel's success is due to them just nailing the actors for this.
And if you think about it, I think initially, I always forget if this was not true or not, or if this was true or not. But like, was Tom Cruise originally going to be?
Yes.
Was he?
Tony Stark?
Yeah, that would have been so bad.
Yeah.
No, see,
it would not have worked.
See, and this is the issue. I think that a lot of, especially superhero movies, had before this is either. I mean, you had campy ones, and that was a big issue.
Yeah.
But then also just horrible casting, and then not good writing for the actor. Like it just wasn't compatible with the actor that you chose.
Yeah, I think even if you take like, I think after probably the Dark Knight trilogy with the first Batman film and especially the second one, I think that's when people were starting to take superhero movies more seriously.
Yes.
I mean, because as much as I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, that was a campy fucking movie. Like
it was very campy.
It was like I still love them.
But even back then, those movies were still a little darker, and like superhero movies were getting into that area where they kept getting darker and darker. And even Iron Man, to give that movie credit, Iron Man freaking kills people. Like, he kills terrorists. Like, they don't get up, they die. Like, we at the Couch Can podcast support killing terrorists, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. Fuck them.
100%. But anyway, like, you can't like deny the success of early Marvel movies, and the fact that they were very smart with their casting, like you said. Their movies were very successful. They were very well planned out. They were generic. They were not without criticism. That was the big criticism from early Marvel movies, because that was always there.
Granted, here my thing is, I do think like Phase 1, right, where it really all began. I think the only two films I can really think of on the top of my head right now, without looking at a list of all the films, right? Like Iron Man 1 is obviously really good. Great starting point. And the first Avengers film is great. I love that film. I think Phase 1, like, they didn't have the best of films overall.
Nah.
Like, here's the thing. The first Captain America, as much as I love the ending, the post-credit scene, I mean, where Cap wakes up to find he's in like present day New York, right? That is like, for me, the best scene in that entire film, which kind of sucks. You have to go through the whole film just to see that beautiful scene.
Oh yeah, the ending line in that movie is like, what is it? He just mentioned the fact I had a date or something.
No,
like,
so
that's a great ending line.
When Nick Fury was like, you okay? And he was like, yeah, I had a date.
Ah,
And I
so
was-
good.
I know. I loved that last line. Granted, the movie as a whole was not great. Wasn't even really good.
It's
to
okay.
be honest.
It was. I after watching it a couple of times, it became better for me because I hated it the first time I watched
Oh
it.
yeah, no.
God,
Like
it was,
again, I think my relationship with that film, like the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, it's like maybe a 5, right? An average film, and I would probably say it's more like a 6 nowadays.
Yeah.
It's above average, but for me, it elevates. I think the fact is that movie for me it earns 1 to 1.5 full points or to 2 full points because of the ending alone. I think that was such a strong ending.
It also has the best soundtrack out of any of the Captain America films, in my opinion.
I don't
It has
remember
such
the
a like a
soundtrack
resounding like America soundtrack. Like let's
Yeah.
invade Iraq right now. Let's
But
go.
no, but seriously, like I do think while like Phase 1 was a great foundation, the films themselves, like they're definitely not of the best that Marvel has made.
No, and when people insult modern day Marvel movies with reason, with good reason, they forget that Marvel has always been pretty not stale, but like pretty consistent in making the same movie. They make a lot of similar movies where
yeah,
the
like-
hero grows up, they have to learn a lesson, then they have to fight a bad guy at the end. That's just their motto.
People say it all the time. It's the Marvel formula,
Yeah.
right? Their jokes are basically all the same. A lot of their action is really just the same, but just sometimes just more bombastic.
Yeah.
But like the flow of it is usually the same. But yeah, I mean, Phase 1 overall was good. Great starting
good.
point, especially the first Avengers film. Do I think it's like top 5, top 10? Maybe it might be top 10. Maybe you can argue that, but it doesn't hold up compared to some of the other really like the bangers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, Phase 1 overall, I liked it.
Yeah,
And
we'll get into a ranking of all those movies
shall.
later. We'll like the phases and all those movies. We will get to
Mm-hmm.
rankings of in just a bit because I do agree with everything that you've said so far. I want to get into a bit of a. I don't think this is even controversial. I think this is just obvious. I think that, and I've said this for a very long time. I think that the story, the whole Marvel narrative was leading up since the first Avengers movie to Thanos. And that was their whole lead up. And again, the Avengers Endgame was one of the highest grossing movies of all time. I think it's still number 2, highest grossing movie of all time for a reason. It even took the spot, highest grossing film of all time for a bit.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason why they did that. There was so much buildup. There was so much goodwill given to the audience. You can give all the criticism in the world for all the Marvel movies, but they were consistent with their entertainment. They were consistent with their creativity. They still had creativity within that formula, and they were fun. They were still event movies, and Endgame was that event movie, and they should have stopped. They should have stopped.